kati 5 to 10 abaga qualifications za Messiah as a high priest. So verse 5 agamba, so also Christ did not exalt himself to be made a high priest, but was appointed by him who said to him, you are my son, today I have begotten you. Nti kati abalaga nti nga atandika abalaga nti ne Yesu yennyini si ye yeeronda, kubanga agambye high priest alondebwa Katonda. Kati abagamba nti ne Yesu si ye yeeronda okubeera high priest, wabula yalondebwa oyo Katonda eyamugamba nti leero oli mwana wange, leero nkuzadde ndi kitaawo. Era verse 6 agamba, as he says also in another place, you are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So era naye ngamba nti era Yesu Katonda yennyini yamulonda bwe yamugamba nti gwe kabona ebbanga lyonna okuva mu eyo order ya Melchizedek nga bw'agamba. Then verse 7, in the days of his flesh Jesus offered up prayers and supplications with loud cries and tears to him who was able to save him from death, and he was heard because of his reverence. Our Bible is because of his devotion to God. So kati ayogera ku biseera bya Yesu Kristo bye yali ng'ali mu mubiri, jjukira basipotingira out gundi qualifications za Kristo mu Christ. Kati abaga pointingira out obulamu bwa Yesu Kristo bwe yali ng'ali mu mubiri nti yawangayo oba yasabanga n'okwegayirira Katonda mu maziga ng'amukabirira amutaasa, kubanga yakola ki? Kubanga yali ayinza omutaasa okuva mu kufa, era ne Katonda n'amuwulira kubanga yali yeewaddeyo gy'ali. Olw'omunaana, although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered. Nti yadde yali mwana wa Katonda naye yayiga obwetowaze oba obugonvu okuyita mu bibonyaabonyezebwa bye yayitamu ng'ali ku nsi nga in that journey y'okutufiirira. And being made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation to all who obey. Nti era n'olwokuba nti oluvannyuma lwa byonna nga atuukiriziddwa n'afuuka ensibuko y'obulokozi obutaggwaawo oba obuli intano eri abo bonna abamukola ki? Abamugondera. Kati akwaga nti mu kubonaabona Yesu kwe yayitamu mu Lunyiriri olw'omunaana, nti olw'okuba nti yabonaabona n'ayita mu kubonaabona okw'ensi eno, nti he can sympathize with us, kubanga mu lugendo lwe olw'okutufiirira buli kimu kye tuyitamu yakiyitamu, okitegeera. So he can sympathize with us. Nga bwe twalabye already previously regarding the high priest, that we have a high priest who can sympathize with us because he was tempted as we are being tempted. Now buli kye tuyitamu yakiyitamu. So we have a high priest who can sympathize with us, of which we have seen is one of the the qualifications for the place of the high priest. Then ekyokuwaayo saddaaka, Yesu yawaayo saddaaka mu kutufiirira, which was the final sacrifice for our sins. Then verse 10, being designated by God a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. At verse 10, the apostle had introduced incidentally a topic of great difficulty, and he adds in verse 11 to 14 that he had had much to say on that subject, but that those whom he addressed were not qualified to understand what he was to say, or to understand them. But he resumes the subject of the comparison between Christ and Melchizedek in Hebrews 7. Kati mu verse 10 yali introducing verse 10 kwanga bagamba that Christ, verse 10 yagamba, being designated by God a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. But there is something that is hard to understand about that thing. Kumanga, that's why he says he had a lot to say, or much to say about it, but he could not, because it was hard for these people to understand. Bano byali awandiikidde kyali kizibu okubitegeera kubanga they had not yet matured in Christianity. Bali bakyali, they didn't have enough knowledge to understand that. So kyova nti abagamba mu verse 10 mpaka 14, that about this we have much to say, about what he says in verse 10, and it is hard to explain since you have become dull of hearing. Bible ezimu zigamba since you've become lazy to understand. So for though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the basic principles of the oracles of God. You need milk, not solid food. Kati abagamba nti yadde kubanga okusinza ku bbanga lye yali amaze nga babasomesa, bali basuubira okubanga it was reasonable to expect nti baali bakuze mu kukkiriza, oba baali bafunye baali ready okubeera okusomesa abalala, naye abagamba nti baali tebannaba, kubanga they needed someone to teach them again the basic principles of the oracles of God, about the best principles of Christianity. So that's why he tells them you need milk, kubanga those principles ezitandikirwako the elementary principles of Christianity, as in gyewandiise obanga emmere egonda kugamba kiba agamba you need milk, not solid food, kubanga then the other doctrines of Christianity they yayitanga solid food, kubanga those maybe they are harder to understand than these ones, these first ones, the elementary ones of Christianity. Era zilistinga eri bobanga ogenze mu verse 6, kubanga verse 6 continuation, kubanga Bible just dividing above dividers, but it is a continuation. Mu verse 6 azisetatinga those doctrines eziri elementary ezitandikirwako ze baali beesigamyeko kugambanga they need to go further and mature in Christianity, kyalinga gezaako bagamba. So because it is the mature Christians that can eat solid food, but the baby Christians can only take milk. Kitegeera kyayeza kusooka bagamba nti bali basobola kutegeera byeno singa bibanyonyola. Kyayogerako mu verse 10, he had much to say. Naye tasobola kubanga kyali kizibu kya kunyonya, kubanga bali tebasobola kitegeera. So abagamba nti mu biseera bino mwandibadde basomesa, naye mwetaaga omuntu okubasomesa, kubanga okubasomesa basic principles. So you need milk, not solid food. For everyone who lives on milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, since he is a child. But solid food is for the mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. Kati bwatyo bw'abagamba, naye nga main object eno chapter yali yakubalaga qualifications za Messiah as a high priest of the Christian religion, therefore implying to them that the office of the high priest was not lost in the Christian religion, it was there. Yeah.